I just feel like I always knew there was something to it for me for contest prep and the look that somebody can get out of it. But now I'm kind of thinking like I never run it ever for in off season in any way. But if I were to ever do another like off season growth phase, I kind of would like to put it in for like just 3 weeks, maybe even 2 weeks at a time. It got me thinking about how I might use it,
What about combining it with a test, NPP, Winstrol, and maybe EQ?
Something like that.
You know what I'm saying? That sounds like it actually, and I don't know why I haven't thought of that before. Because you kind of start, even as coaches, you kind of put compounds into categories or subcategories a little bit. Oh, that's a prep compound. That's an off-season compound.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Blood, Sweat, and Gear with coaches Skip Hill, Andrew Berry, myself, Scott McNally, and all of our programming is brought to you by you, the people of Patreon. Thank you very much for your support. We've got some Patreon questions today. By the way, guys, if you're new to our content, we'd love to have you along for all of our stuff. We've got several shows each week. Like, share, subscribe, all those things, and comment with questions for the next episode. We're also brought to you by TrueNutrition.com. Use our code THINK over there, and SupplementSource.ca for Canadians. They have great deals that change week to week. Guys, I got a fun one to start out with. It's an educational yet fun topic. What's one steroid that you underestimated? I wanted to make sure I said that right. One steroid that you underestimated. It could have been at any point in your career in bodybuilding, but maybe you were pleasantly surprised by something that you thought like, man, I didn't think that was as good. Or maybe it grew on you over a period of time. I know I've got one that I'm thinking about. Skip, I know you've got one on deck. So let's hear what you have to say as Andrew pulls his together.
Yeah, I was going to pretend that I had to think about it. No, I just, I laughed and said before we started, we've been doing gear, the three of us have been doing gear for so long, I don't know, it's kind of a reach. I think we were all sitting there going, which one did we underestimate? Because it's been a long time. So, but I have to go with Mastron. I don't want to say I purposely avoided it, but I was not motivated to run it down early on. And these days, I'm really to the point where I think a lot of people tend to add Mastron in like deeper into prep. It might be like a 10-week or an 8-week or maybe a 12-week in there somewhere. As soon as I start a cut phase, I'm starting Mastron. I don't want to say always, but I rarely will run testosterone without Mastron. And my logic is this. If I can make the testosterone I'm taking that much more efficient to run higher free testosterone levels, I might as well do it. Plus, I get all my gear for free. So that was my wait. That was my waxing. My attempt to what's that kid's name? It was Waxin, right? Waxin22 on Instagram. I know you follow him, Andrew. Don't act like you don't. The one who comes out and he shows off his drip. This is my drip, and he goes through everything that he's wearing. That kid.
I have no idea who we're talking about.
I don't either.
Seriously. I
don't either.
Okay. Waxing on Instagram. Okay, so if anybody's listening, check out this kid. He'll get on your nerves after a little while, but it's funny at first. He's a kid. He's just like this. He's not dumpy, but he's like this chunky little kid who might be like 15 or 16, but he looks like he's like 10. And his shtick is he describes his drip, basically what he's wearing from his shoes to his socks and everything else. And he has this laugh at the end that just is funny like 3 or 4 times. And then it's not. He's just kind of like a cool. He's got like 1 million followers or something ridiculous.
Well, guess what? He doesn't have Andrew and I following him. And I think it's going to stay that way.
I thought for sure you.
I got a follow up.
You mentioned him.
I got a follow up that we can do too, which is going to be what steroid do you think the bodybuilding community in general? Because we talk to a lot of people. What steroid do you think that gets underestimated nowadays by our community as a whole? I've got one of those too.
Okay.
What do you got, Andrew?
I'm going to go with one of Skip's favorites, Anavar. And not necessarily for any particular reason other than it was just a compound where I think I had a mindset of, well, you're going to either run Anavar or Winstrol, towards the end of a prep. And for some reason, I use Winstrol once myself, or not once, but the first time I used it, I really liked the effects from it. And then I kind of just like, I guess I'm done with Anavar,
Yeah.
And that was very short-sighted of me because I use them both now. And especially like more recently over the summer, I had some fun with Anavar, and I really liked both, the pop and fullness and, the DHT side effects I also got from it as well. So, so I'm going to say Anavar. It was, in my mind, I think I wasn't giving it the proper respect because I had put myself in the camp of Winstrol, and not that you have to be in one camp or the other. I had just stupidly kind of painted myself into that corner. So, and I can say this is kind of a lack of vision that sometimes coaches get, where you're like, oh, well, this worked for me, and it's always worked for me, so I don't need to bother even exploring that other compound. And
I still like Winstrol better. I still like it better.
Gun to my head, I like Winstrol a little better. Like, you can only pick one. I'm probably going to go Winstrol. But
you know what? It used to be more expensive too, Anavar. So I could see the playing field is a little more level now because it's not as costly. You can get basically everything for cheaper than you used to be able to, Yeah.
Isn't it funny when people complain about like PED prices or like how to get it now? And it's like, you guys have no idea. If you're north of like 30 or 35, like trying to get gear when I was in my older teens and young 20s was like, you had to know a guy that really knew a guy, and you had to be secretive about it, or the emails and sending cash in an envelope to somebody who lived far away that you had no idea who they were.
Hopefully it gets there. And you're not getting a notification of a sent package. You're just gonna have to wait for 4 to 6 months possibly.
That should be a question or a topic. What's the craziest thing that you received gear in?
Ooh, yeah, but you know what they say, Skip, loose lips sink ships. So
maybe it's the craziest thing I received gear in was from the post office when the postal inspectors, FBI, and DEA arrested me. But
that's pretty crazy.
We've all been before, right?
That's pretty crazy. Yeah. I don't think I can top that one.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. Well, I kind of am, but only because it's funny now. I am certain that it was not funny then. No,
God, no.
No question. No question.
I'm pretty chill when I'm in trouble, though, because it's like, I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm freaking. I'm like, all right, well, plus I had been reading Rick Collins's books, and I kind of had an idea how it was going to go. Because when I get into something, I go all in. I want to explore every avenue, even the legal side of it. And I knew that, okay, like at the end of the day, this is probably going to be a strong slap on the wrist, but it's not like you're going to jail for 5 years or whatever.
What year was it though that it happened?
2001 or 2002.
Okay. Well, in my defense, mine happened in 93, only 2 years after the Anabolic Steroid Act was passed. Yeah. I was petrified, and I had a daughter.
Yeah, so that's different.
I was really like I was literally going for life as far as I was concerned. I was absolutely petrified, mortified. It was just a really bad situation. It's part of the reason that I moved to Colorado. That's a different story. I didn't run. I wasn't a fugitive, but I felt like I wanted a clean slate.
Fresh
and I was not going to get. I felt like everybody that went to school with me and everything, everybody who knew me, literally like I was walking around with a sign that I've been in jail. I got busted. I'm a loser. That sort of thing. But that's for another time, I guess. It beat me out.
Getting arrested, and they put me on the freaking front page of the sports section of the paper,
crazy.
Right? Because I was like the hometown hero for football, basketball. Like, I got a frame now,
Dude,
but,
good.
Yeah, but it's like,
office right behind you.
Well, I think people felt like I should have been ashamed, but I think back then I had the attitude that we all have about PEDs today, that they're just so commonly used. They're not nearly as dangerous as you guys are trying to scare us into thinking. Sure. And also the typical PED user is on such a better level of health and mindset than any other drug user of any drug category in terms of diet, exercise, knowing their body. I'm not saying I was doing blood work, every 3 months back then, but I just didn't, I didn't feel any shame with it because it's like, no, like to me, this isn't quote unquote cheating, because I'm not playing a sport that tests me for this stuff. I'm not, it was just a different mindset. I think that's kind of pissed my parents off a little bit, that I wasn't like, shivering in my boots kind of thing. because they kept on trying to like pile it on me, but I'm like, no, I got this. I'll pay for my attorney. Like, I'll smooth it over. I'm going to talk it out. And sure enough, that's what we did.
A little
now,
gangster.
maybe I just got lucky. Maybe it could have gone the other way, but
right.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. So I think my choice for underrated compound is Winstrol. And I never use it except for in the very end of a contest prep. But after hearing Scott talk about it on an episode of Muscle Minds where we discussed just how anabolic, like how powerful it is as a muscle builder, it's something I never really gave credit for. I just feel though like it's basically like one of the strongest muscle builders we have. Now that said, there's some limiting factors in there. Like you can only take it for so long. It's liver toxic, so you can only take so much. You're not going to like do a mass, like you could potentially get joint issues with it for some people after 4 weeks, So there's a lot of limiting factors that keep it from being that compound for growth. But I just feel like I always knew there was something to it for me for contest prep and the look that somebody can get out of it. But now I'm kind of thinking like I never run it ever for in off season in any way. But if I were to ever do another like off season growth phase, I kind of would like to put it in for like just 3 weeks, maybe even 2 weeks at a time. It got me thinking about how I might use it,
What about combining it with a test, NPP, Winstrol, and maybe EQ? Like,
something like that.
You know what I'm saying? That sounds like it actually, and I don't know why I haven't thought of that before. Because you kind of start, even as coaches, you kind of put compounds into categories or subcategories a little bit. Oh, that's a prep compound. That's an off-season compound. And for example, like no one's running D-ball the day of a show, into a contest, Right. That one, I guess you could definitely put in a category. You could put that in the box, lock the key, and save it for the off season. But yeah, no, I think we kind of like typecast compounds into certain situations where it's like, well, wait a minute, like why haven't we tried Winstrol in the off season,
right?
With some of these quote unquote bulking agents.
Yeah. So I think my one for society that I think that our community underrates greatly at this point is D-ball. I feel like that everybody is anti, like they're afraid of the estrogen issues. It's like just so old school and thought of. It's like you never hear of it in any cycles now. And man, it's a powerful muscle builder. Now, granted, still an oral, so we're not going to be running it long term. But I'd be comfortable with running D-ball a little bit longer than I would some other orals. So I'll say that much.
Yeah, I think it's that old school thing. I think most people, when they hear it, they think, that's a dinosaur reference. He's only telling me that because he's... And I'm not big on it. I'll be honest with you. If I want something strong, I'll go straight to Anadrol. I'll only do it if I'm lean because it'll make me look great. And if I'm not lean, which isn't very often, that I would not be lean and want to run Anadrol. But if I do, I turn into a water buffalo very, very quickly. And I can feel the blood pressure go up. Like when you're doing dumbbell presses and it feels like your eyeballs are going to pop out of your head.
You feel your heartbeat just in the side of your face.
Yeah, that's not good.
Not a great feeling now.
What do you guys got for society? What do you think is the most underrated compound by our community nowadays?
Well, I'm only going to jump in first because I want to say what Andrew said. I really think that Anavar is underrated by most of the people in the industry. It's not to me because I love it, and I've been very vocal about that for a long time. But that's an easy one for me. That's the one that I think stands out to me.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of people like it. I feel like a lot of people like it nowadays, though. They want compounds that aren't gonna create a lot of water retention, And I feel like for that reason, they're like, yeah, you could throw some Anavar in there.
I still think there's a lot of people who consider it a female drug.
I was just going to say that.
Weak. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And I think Preworkout is arguably up there too, because I think only within maybe the last 3 or 4 years has that become more popular. Because I used to call it a watered down. What did I call it? Like a watered down Deca. Like if I wanted to take something strong, I would take Deca or NPP. I'm not going to play around with Primo. But you guys know that I'm not a big fan of Primo, though I do admit that I am running it now with my TRT. And funny thing, don't want to go down this rabbit hole. I apologize, but I will say this: my TRT and it reminds it's going so well. But my TRT phases always go up. It makes me wonder, really, if I just take too much shit.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man.
Because I feel like $1,000,000 when I'm on TRT. My general demeanor, I'm not an asshole when I'm on, but I just feel better. I'm more upbeat. My training is great. My strength is up. Now, arguably, my calories are higher too, but I'm not a throw down the food kind of guy either. Like, I don't go into an off season and go, I'm just eating everything in sight, in a massive amount of calories. So, I don't know, boy. When I'm on a lot of shit, it's just a different feeling. It's not necessarily bad or good, but it's always good on TRT, and I'm running that Primo with it right now.
I like the other way. I like being geared up. I always feel great. Like it's almost negative. It's almost a bad thing because you're like, oh, you should probably check your blood pressure just to make sure you're doing okay. Yeah. Because I just feel great.
How long do you run your cycles though, Andrew?
So the last cycle I did was,
I apologize.
No, I'm an open book, man. The last cycle I ran was like spring to summer, and before that I hadn't run anything other than TRT for like a year and a half. Ever since.
Okay, but even like going back, like going back to like when you were competing, like would you run them long or because I run long?
I've done everything. I've done when I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this healthy, and I've been 300 tests, 300 Primo for most of the year, and then contest prep time, like 16, 18 weeks out, I'll start adding things in. I've also, stupidly done the 20-week off-season bulk cycle right into a 20-week contest prep cycle too. So, I've done it all. But so like typically though, like I would say I probably run like one decent cycle a year for 15 to 18 weeks at this point.
Significantly shorter than mine. And that's why I wonder if it's not even just the cycle, but the length of the cycle.
Sure,
so
absolutely.
Because I can look back and I can go, okay, well, I don't usually feel too beat up, early on or for the half of the prep, or not even prep, but half of the cycle, and then as it lingers, then I start to feel pretty beat. So
one other variable to add, because you're talking about longer cycles that I've thought of a little bit lately. Is okay, let's say you're going to run a 35 week cycle. Is it staying with those same exact compounds that's kind of like leading to the issues, or leading to you feeling like I'm not getting enough out of this? You know what I'm saying? Like would switching compounds in and out, would that maybe provide a more beneficial effect? And that's
what I'm trying to narrow down, because as an example, you guys know how I feel about DHB. So I switched to DHB. And for the first time, I felt,
oh, Jesus.
Maybe this is not making me feel great after,
Oh, that's why he said, "Oh Jesus."
I didn't know if he was talking about me. I'm like,
yeah. He was like, "Oh God, you're using DHB."
It's just DHB. I'm just being honest here.
Yeah.
That's funny. That makes sense now.
Here he is.
But yeah, it may be compound. It may be compound related.
Okay, because I thought I was talking to myself there for like 15 seconds when I realized, I'm.
No, you said, Skip was like, I switched to DHB, and you're like, oh Jesus, we thought you were upset about that.
So I don't know why he left. He's just bothered by the fact that I was using DHB. No, it may be compound related, but I've used DHB before and haven't had that type of issue. But it wasn't on the back end of a cycle to prolong it too. So there are some things there that I have to iron out. But
George said in the live stream, he said, how much Anavar are we talking, Skip? I tried 30 to 50 pre-workout a few times. It didn't feel much. Did the same thing with Anadrol, and I'm stronger, getting better pumps, and I feel swole. I don't feel like Anavar is like a one and done kind of, it's not a pre-workout compound. It's when you build up in your system, Yeah, daily.
Yes. Run it daily, a couple times, dose it a couple times a day. I think you might feel differently after a few weeks of doing that. And that's another thing with Anavar is people tend to, and I don't like this idea. I'm just going on record as saying this. If people go, it's mild, I'm going to take 100 milligram. I just don't think that it needs to be that high. Do what you want to do. I tell people that all the time. Whatever you're comfortable with it, that's fine. But the 50, 60, like if you do, 25 milligram twice a day, 30 milligram twice a day, maybe, up to 40 milligram twice a day. I just think once you get up to that 100, I think you're not respecting how good the compound is. And I think most people are using more than they need to, unless you started with a lower dose and you've been taking it consistently and you don't feel like it's hitting you, like it's not. But Anavar isn't one of those big. You're going to feel Anadrol. You're going to feel D-ball.
Yeah.
Anavar isn't going to hit you like, you know, like, oh,
you're going to see it. You're going to see it, not feel
You'll
it.
feel it. Here's the thing, too. You'll feel it while you're training. Well, I do. I've said before, it's almost like this. The muscular contractions are so fierce that it feels like when you're doing dumbbell presses that your chest just wants to rip away from its sternum. Or you're doing hack squats and it feels like your quads just want to pull away from the knees because the contractile force is so strong. But I don't know if other people feel what I feel.
It super shuttles creatine to the muscle too, which a lot of gear doesn't, I think, specifically do that. I think that's a factor. It's like I get a pump from Anavar. It's like a hard freaking pump, and I get strength. I notice it, you know.
But what you guys, I think, were alluding to is it's not like a pre-workout aggression, like get you. Whereas, like, take some Halo, Anadrol, TNE, that kind of stuff. Like, you're ready to run through a wall and do more. So the Lolly here says they're about to add Winstrol into their Mast cycle for the next 3 weeks. Why don't you let us know how that goes? I don't know who the Lolly is. I'd be interested to see.
I'm about to start working with him. He's on his own right now. So we'll see, because we're starting next week. We'll have to talk about that one. Lolly, just take all the shit you want to right now and just put off starting with Scott for another 2 more weeks so that he can get that 3 weeks. We'll make that work. We'll work that in. I think he'd be a good candidate for it too. This guy he's made incredible progress. Like, we're talking, I think I met him a couple of years ago, and he's got to be going on over like 100 pounds difference.
Oh, wow.
Like in
That's
progress.
impressive.
And he's like, when you put it this way, his training is at the point where when I want to show somebody else an exercise, I'll be like, hey, send me a set of, barbell row, and then I'll use him as the example. We had some other questions in here, and there was one for you, Andrew.
Well, hold on. Getting back to Winstrol. I guess it's common for women in like wellness figure to be taking like 80 mgs a day.
Ooh.
Man. Like we had a girl who was in line at Junior USA's when I had a client there in wellness, and she was talking about her drug cycle. And I don't think she was just trying to like exaggerate. 80 mgs of Anavar, 80 mgs of Winstrol, and then I think it was like 50 mgs of Primo a day.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, like you're on more than me right now, like legitimately, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just thought that was interesting. And also Dynamite D posted a cycle yesterday for a Wellness Pro. There was something like 250 tests, 200 Tren, and 200 EQ per week. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
We got to get on Dom Super Slice. He's told Victoria some stories of what he's heard going on in that division, man. It's crazy.
Me and Dom go way back. Like, he's from the Northeast too, and he's an old school, but also like probably one of the most intelligent coaches out there in terms of knowing the X's and O's, enzymes, everything. He's big on functional. He's big on everything. We could talk about any topic with him.
I love that. Yeah, he seems like a cool guy. We were supposed to get together out, and they were going to go out to eat when we were out there in Vegas, but it was like the last day, and I was just like so freaking beat. I couldn't do anything more,
Yeah.
What did that wellness voice sound like? It sounded like she had like a tracheotomy, or
kind of like you.
Did she go like this? I can't even get that low. I can't even get that low myself. Yeah.
Andrew, I was out in Tampa in July. You looked huge and lean. You were prepping, or were you prepping or stepping things up at the time? You always look huge. Camera does you no justice.
Oh, thank you. Who said that? Because I can't. When I had to come back on, I lost.
I'm going to be so pissed.
ZR. Hey, I don't know who you are, ZR, but if you're there next time, just come up and say hello, man.
Yeah.
Or ma'am. We
ma'am.
This summer. Yeah, ma'am.
It's a 50-year-old lady.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, it's probably like some 17-year-old kid. No, but no, this summer, like, I told Nate I was going to, prep with him minus getting on stage. And, I dieted really hard and I trained obviously really hard and I added some goodies to the mix. And yeah, it was a good summer. I kind of, this is getting a little deep, but after John passed away, and then I also lost my dogs right after that. It was rough. And, while I was going through the motions of bodybuilding by going to the gym, and I was still eating very clean. I don't think I had a free meal for a year that year almost. It was really like I wasn't thinking bodybuilding progress for myself. It was really just immerse myself in work and go through the motions with bodybuilding. And then, being down here, I think there really is a Florida effect. That's what I call it. It's definitely invigorated me to, thinking about my own progress more and more. Nate had a thing on his YouTube that if he got 1,000 likes or something like that, I would step on stage again. So
yeah,
we didn't get 1,000 likes. So
guys, let's all go over there. I'll get the link. I'll put it in the description.
Exactly.
We all head over, and we like that. We force Andrew back into it.
The consolation was, though, you were the guy who was in the best shape at the pool at Caliente. I really want somebody to get that reference listening. I
was certainly the best built guy at the pool at the Berry household. So that was key thing for me. Yep. So, but honestly, and I don't know about you guys, but when I'm dieting and I have more things to do, I'm way more productive. Being a little bit hungry keeps me more awake, more focused. I have to budget my time better because I'm doing cardio and stuff. Though I can't lie. I only did 25 minutes of cardio a day, which is the lowest I've ever had to do. And I probably got down to like a 3-week outlook, maybe a little bit closer. I didn't throw Winstrol and Preworkout and some of the other stuff I like to use in at the end. But it was fun. So
I don't usually watch podcasts, especially if I'm not on it. But I did pay attention to Scooby, Jason, and I caught him talking about the fact that he only did knee. So I just wanted to bring that up because I have said a couple times that I've run a couple cut cycles where I literally have said I don't need to do cardio, and then I jump in and do cardio and I drive myself into the damn ground. So it made me smile because I thought, he was coming off a situation. He had reached out to me about the shingles. I wish I would have been able to be on when he was on, but I had to have my feet done. Anyway, he reached out to me because he was just beat down, and obviously you have to be beat down to get shingles because the immune system goes into the toilet. So for him to do such a turnaround, people don't understand. The turnaround that he did. In the relatively short amount of time that he did it to pull off a prep and he was in really.
We're talking about Jason Theobald, by the way, guys. Just to be clear.
Yeah. Sorry. And I was impressed by that. And the fact that he only did knee, I still think there's something to that. I understand that not everybody can do it. I understand that you may get to the point where you still have to add cardio. But remember, his knee was long. It was longer periods of time.
2 hours a day, I think, right?
Huh?
He was doing about 2 hours a day, I think.
I think he said that he was doing an hour to an hour and a half twice. He got to the point where he was doing an hour and a half twice a day, but that it was just literally just chill walks. And that's what I say chill. It wasn't like you're just like, oh, here. Yeah. But you're also not running like you're running a walk marathon. You know what I mean?
But you talk at the same time.
Exactly. You could talk. You're just constantly moving for that time. And I think there's something to be said of that.
What's up with
if you're
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if you're in the right situation, and I think he had done a good job immediately of lowering his stress via the compounds he was using, as well as realizing, hey, like the reason why I'm having dysfunction right now isn't because poor eating, poor diet, poor exercise. It was because of what he had put on his plate in terms of, stress causing events. So I think he probably cleaned that up a little bit, added in some of the other compounds that he was using, and that's what allowed him to stay in a stress-free, utilize a neat type approach as long as he had the time to do it. And probably it was probably his favorite time of the day because it was his time just for himself.
Sure. No question. I used to love that. And it's outside. I'm assuming he did it outside. Maybe he didn't. But you do it outside versus just sitting on a treadmill. It really is day and night. It's the waving. It's the seeing people. It just passes. It's a very, very tranquil, almost therapeutic time. But the fact that he was said that he was using GLP-1, I was not for this a year ago. But I like the microdosing component of it, and I think there's something to it. So to hear that he had done that, it intrigued me, because I have thought, I'm like, man, if I could get what would that dosing be? I want to give this a shot, but it's on my brain, and it was on my brain prior to me hearing him say that.
So let me tell you something. Through the discussion we had with him, and then I spent the next week doing a lot of research and buying books and combing through articles. So I'm starting the same regimen that he was using. I'm doing the Methylene Blue, the NAD Plus, and I started the Terzeptide. Actually today, it just got in. So because I'm big, I really do think, especially after talking to him, that there are very specific applications where we can use this with our coaching clients, and especially for high stress people that are already doing all the cardio, already eating super clean. You know, maybe there's hormone dysfunction in there, but as a I guess a band-aid or more so a bridge to getting back to wellness, I think this can be a good tool. And I never want to have someone take something that I've never taken before so that I can, you know, understand what the side effects or, so I started that full regimen, and cause I'm going to keep myself TRT. And so all variables are going to be the same. I'm going to keep my training the same, my diet the same, and just see what effect it has on me. So maybe I'll have something to report back in a month or so.
Yeah, keep us posted. Steve had been telling me since Swiss last year to try Methylene Blue, and Victoria had brought it up a year before that. So finally, after talking with Jason, I bought a bottle, and I took it one day, and then I stopped. So I haven't gotten on it yet. I wasn't feeling ready for it. I think that particular day I felt really tired, and I was like, you know what? Am I feeling tired because I took, you know what I mean? And it was like, it was a hard read. So I felt like I'm going to Swiss this weekend, and it was just the Olympia, and I got sick right after the Olympia. So I want to feel like stable and then start it up versus being like, you know, things all over the place.
I feel like it has a mild nootropic effect, and it could absolutely be placebo, but I've been on that for maybe 10 or 12 days now, and I feel like I'm better focused, honestly, with work and whatnot, just being able to sit in the computer chair a little bit longer and more focused. Weird thing, though, it absolutely does turn your urine blue. It's like, you know, like the color like a pool. Like when you look at a pool and it's like that greenish bluish, that's what your urine looks like.
How many milligrams are you using?
So I started with 10, now I'm up to 15, and I think I'm going to push it to 20, and then just, you know, I've heard of some guys actually using 30 milligrams, guys that we've had on this podcast, actually, not Jason, but for nootropic effects, actually. So, yeah.
Okay.
And can we agree that the discoloration of the urine is a non-issue?
100,000%.
Yeah.
100,000%.
Hey guys, here's a video of Victoria refilling our glass collagen jar that we keep next to our coffee maker. We add a scoop to our coffee each day. It's 29 grams of protein, plus collagen is great for your connective tissue. This is hydrolyzed beef collagen from True Nutrition. Use our code THINK for additional savings. Hey, how about this question? This is a good one from Ghostman in the live stream. He said, how long is too long for a prep? Have you seen the body stop responding after a time frame? He said, I did stress show. Then I'm not sure what show that was, but he did a show, and then he did nationals in Australia, now doing Romania for fun because the missus is doing the pro show. And he adds that he's been in prep for 33 weeks now. Got a hell of a back on him from that avatar picture, too. It's got the hanging muscle, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's a time frame, but it's going to be different for everybody. Like, how brutal is this prep? I mean, is he beat down, or is he going at it not as aggressively but longer? Is he refeeding? Is he pulling back to maintenance? Is he cycling, cardio in and out? What's the training look like? How hard, how intense is it? There's just so many variables there. That's a tough one.
I mean, I don't know if you guys would agree with me about this, but as soon as I got in shape and was able to add a few calories, prep was the easiest thing. As soon as calories went up and cardio went down and you're maintaining conditioning, the only reason I fell out of that was because, like, okay, it's the off season and it's time to either get healthy or to have a push phase to try to put on as much muscle as possible in this post show phase. But I feel like I could live in that zone for forever. And to a point, we've got a guy at the gym. He's not a competitor. He's actually a professional tennis player, retired, and he's a tennis coach. And he actually does what we do, but with tennis players. Like, does the nutrition, training programs, like coaches them on and off the court. Nice. And yeah, it's pretty cool, dude. He's been able to do that.
A lot of money in tennis too.
Oh yeah, a lot more than bodybuilding, I think. You know what I mean?
This guy is player. This guy is John Meadows condition, 24/7, 365. Like,
wow.
3 years ago he was like that. 2 years ago he's like, every day he comes in the gym, you know, he wears tight spandex stuff, but you can see the veins through everything. You can see his ab lines through. You can see his glute lines. He's in shape year round. So big shout out to James from MI40. We call him the mayor of MI40 because he's very social and vocal.
I was on prep for about 40 weeks one year because of that. Because I ended up, and I wasn't geared up the whole time, but I ended up getting into shape. And then it was just easy to keep it there, you know, and I enjoyed it. And I was like, you know what, there's another show in 6 weeks. So I'm going to hang in and do that. So it really, I mean, it wasn't intentional at the beginning, but, you know, I worked from home, right? So it wasn't stressful. It wasn't hard. By the very end, I did start pushing. And then I really tried to I'm going to see what I could do next level for this final show. And I was brain dead for like the last 4 weeks. But outside of that, I was doing pretty good. And I didn't have any like long-term, you know, issues and no health issues from it. So, you know.
I would say this. The longer you stay, and I'm trying to relate this to myself, the longer you stay in the last 1/4 or 1/3 of the prep, I think would probably determine it. Because I can get under 210, 20, maybe the cutoff is at least right now 206, 207, maybe 208, 206 to 208 very easily without feeling like I'm doing much of anything. It's just not terribly laborious. It doesn't negatively impact my training. It doesn't get into my energy, my sleep, my mood, nothing. But once I get down under that point, then I would have a limit. I have a limited amount of time. And I think that would probably carry over to a lot of other people too. That last quarter, 1/3 of that time, I think, would matter. So based on where he is in the prep, how lean he is, things like that, if you get to the point where you're competing and then you pull back up out of that last quarter or 1/3, much like Andrew was saying too, and you're doing, Scott, where you have the added calories and you're able to just kind of be in this, I don't want to say limbo, but kind of cruise control, if you will. You can ride that for a bit. But man, being in that last 1/3, that last 1/4, the longer you stay there, the more beat down you're going to get. So,
yeah, I found that. So I learned a lot from that year because previously I had the mindset of, you know, the way that I was raised in bodybuilding was that you put all your eggs in one basket. You basically did one show, you know, and that was it. And part of that for me was because I had to schedule a week off from work, and I couldn't do that, you know, multiple times in a row through the year. So anyway, when I did this, I was like, oh, I could do it again. You know, there's nothing holding me back because I work from home as a coach. I realized that as I got leaner, I felt like initially my thought going into that was like you're going to go beyond your peak or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you get to the best you're going to look, and then you get on stage, and then from there it's over. But if you get to that point, it's like then you could start, like you're absolutely as lean as you could be. Now we can pull cardio out, and you don't have to stress your body as much with that. Now you can add more food in. You're burning through more food. Before you know it, you're eating like a cup of rice with every meal. You know, and you're doing 20 minutes of cardio a day. It's like, man, why can't I do this long term? And you're looking better and better. And yeah, there is going to become a point where like maybe you do have to start pushing down again into that next show. But I don't know. I feel like I did a good job at toggling it. And I think that's how I can get people to their absolute freaking leanest, you know?
I agree.
You know, like especially for people that are trying to get a pro card or, you know.
Thank you.
Because they're going to do one show, and then there's another one 2 weeks after that, and another one 2 weeks after that. And if you can get them to that stage, it's like they just start looking better and better. And then we take that week for the show where they're actually getting a lot more food a lot of times, and they're not doing as much cardio. And then they come out of that looking even better than they did before. So it's like, I don't know. To me, the main thing is then like, what are we doing with the gear? You know? What are we doing with the orals? How long have you been on clen? How long have you been on T3? You know,
I find that you can usually start pulling the T3 down and almost completely out usually in those longer extended situations when you get someone in shape and you start to feed them up on the back end. I mean, for an example of this on how I do it, like if anyone's a member of the Mountain Dog Diet website, I just put up in the trenches on one of my clients that won her pro card this year, Jill Lombardi in wellness. And, you know, our original goal was to do the universe, but we got her in shape early and she did junior USAs and she got second. And then we went and did the universe, and then we waited a whole nother month after that because she got fourth or fifth at the universe. And then we went and did North Americans a whole month later. So she'd been in prep almost 30 weeks at this point. But what her first half of her prep looked like, which was very low calories, 2 hours of cardio, stims, chems, all that shit, to the back end. The back end was no cardio for like the last 8 weeks. It was her baseline carbs went from like, let's say a low of like 0 on some days, or maybe a baseline of 100 grams of carbs a day in the first half of the prep, to now almost 300 grams of carbs, regular burger and fries or sushi once a week, no cardio, like I said. Perfect. And she was loving life. Like, it was the most perfect situation. And you got to have the mindset to do that, and you got to have the mindset to trust your coach to be like, yeah, we're going the distance. Because I do that with a lot of my females, and the reason why I think you can do this with females more than men is obviously the PEDs. You usually can't crush a guy with drugs for 30, 40 weeks. A girl, you're using 10 to 20 mgs of Anavar and maybe some Winstrol and maybe some other slight, compound. It's the dose, right? We talk about dose versus duration. Women's doses are so low that when I look at women's labs at the end of prep, I'm not expecting or worried that we're going to have poor health markers. I'm worried about the hormone dysfunction, whereas flip-flop that to the guys. With guys at the end of preps, I'm really looking at the health markers because there's going to be some damage done there. So that is one of the differences between men and female. Just though I did just tell you about how I'm seeing these wellness girls doing 200 mgs of Tren a week and 80 mgs of Anavar and Winstrol together per day. So I'm sure that girl's labs didn't look so good.
How about this one? This is from Patreon. Question for BSG. Men's physique competitor. I run Testy at 160 milligrams a week, and I feel and look enhanced. I can run Test E with Masteron propionate at 100 milligrams, and I'm fine. I can also run Test E with Tren Ace at 30 milligrams per week, very low, and I'm fine. But if I put Test E, Mast P, and Tren Ace together, I get instant, aggressive, cystic acne on my face. The combination of the three makes me feel and look incredible, but the acne is a deal breaker. Is there a reason why this combination of all three at such low doses should do this, and not the combination of only two?
Is the Masteron dipropionate? I think he said it was.
He said Masteron propionate.
Okay, so here's my guess. If you're starting all of them at the same time, and I've said this over and over, the vast majority of people who break out will break out when blood levels are going up or coming down, not typically when they're stable. So 2 of the 3 compounds are propionate. So if 2 of the 3 are coming up and bringing up blood levels very quickly, it's likely that it's playing into the breakout. If he were to, here would be my question to him. Once he's on and he stays on and those blood levels remain more stable, does the breakout or the acne decrease? Because if it does, then I'm right. If it continues,
and you're saying he's not giving himself enough time to actually, like he does the cycle 3 weeks in, he's like, I just can't take this. Yeah, I get what you're saying. And I agree with you.
It's my best guess. I mean, I posit that's what's happening.
What if he started just like the 2, I never just throw in all 3 in a prep. You know what I mean? It'd be like test or test and Mast, and then, test if test by its own, then Mast a little bit later, and then Tren toward the end,
So that's assuming that his Tren is an acetate. I mean, I don't know that you said that.
He did.
I think he did.
Yeah.
But his question is there something about those 3 compounds being used in conjunction? Like, does the combination of them somehow like increase progesterone that might be causing the cystic acne, or is it? I mean, that's one of the only things I could think of. But
okay, but is that really the case, or is it just simply? And you know what? If you say it is, I might learn something today. I see hormones and their relationship with an acne breakout as strictly the amount of what's it called, sebum, right?
Sebum,
oil, produced in the under exactly in the internal or the lower layer, epidermis or dermis?
Dermis.
In the spacious gland.
The lower the one that's lower and deeper. And that's where you're getting, because a lot of people will say, well, I clean my face, I do this and that. That's great to keep your pores clean. But typically that acne is coming. There's a difference between acne and blackheads. Acne is coming arguably from inside, where the blackheads and the oily skin is, from the outside. That's where you're going to keep your face clean. It's really only going to impact blackheads and things like that. So, I stand by it. I think if I were him, I would go down that path first, because I don't think that specific compounds are going to go, oh, this is going to trigger the acne, other than it's just the blood levels are coming up or decreasing so quickly that they change that production, and then it becomes it's a bacteria issue, underneath the skin too, right? Or is that only surface?
I doubt that it's a bacterial issue.
Okay,
I would doubt it too.
That would, I guess, point as a bacterial infection, which wouldn't be, the more I think about it, probably wouldn't be terribly logical. So, I think it's the oil production, and it's typically going up or coming down.
It's going up. The oil production is going up when he's going up and coming down off the drugs. And I would agree with you, because that's when I see it. That's when I get the most complaints from clients of, oh man, I'm breaking out with acne, and it's male, female, and it's literally always that 2 to 3 weeks while jumping up on the compound, and then the end of the cycle, start to complain about it again. So I do think.
And let me add one more thing too, is that I would recommend to this guy: check your dosing frequency. Because as an example, if you're only hitting those short esters once a week, you're riding a roller coaster. Twice, a little bit more, but twice if you're careful and you spread it out 84 hours. I would say 84 hours because of OCD. A Monday morning, Thursday night. Once you're in after a few weeks, it's going to keep your blood levels relatively constant. I don't think to the point where you'd break out. But if you are, maybe take that to 3 days, to a more frequent, just so that there isn't, basically to minimize any fluctuations in blood levels. But I still think it's on the climb or on the decline.
All right, rapid fire.
Okay.
It says, let's see, is one prone to injury when taking a break from GH? I took a break to relieve CTS and tweaked my lower back on an old school hack squat. It's never given me problems before. I would say no.
I'm going to say no too. Yeah.
I mean, because I've also tweaked my back when running copious amounts of GH. So, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, we've all gotten hurt when running gear and when not running gear at copious levels. So I don't think there's necessarily much of a correlation, unless you're trying to go too heavy and use
correlated.
that same.
Definitely correlated, but not causative. Yeah.
Not causative. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a client experiencing drowsiness while taking clen? Mine is from the pharmacy, and about an hour and a half or 2 hours in from taking it, I want to take a nap. Strangest thing. I'm 100% sure it's real. Yes, I
That's
agree.
not strange at all.
Yeah.
That's not strange at all.
It's not as bad as taking ketotyphon with it, but nonetheless, yes.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, ketotyphon will knock you out. No, but I mean, why, right? Okay, normally, let's say you haven't had clen in a while. You take it, even 40 mics might give you an excitatory effect. You might know you're taking something, right? But then with prolonged use and increased dosage, you start to lose that stimulatory effect, and then you're actually going to work burning fat. Burning fat is actually an energy expensive process. Mm-hmm. So, and typically when people are using clen, they're dieting at the same time, right? So lower calories, the machinery is breaking down more fatty acids so you can use as fuel. That's an energy expensive process. Like, I can tell you right now that it's not just the effect of being low calories. Like, if I use clen for say 3 weeks in a row, by the time I get to that third week, I'm falling asleep throughout the day if I'm not, engaged in something.
Add GH to it, nap time.
Add GH.
And I've always referred to clen as cardio in a bottle. It is exhaustive. It may not be as exhaustive as doing 2 hours of cardio, but it's similar in the sense that if you're taking clen, not doing any cardio, you're going to get those like you're doing a bunch of cardio.
Yeah. I learned about this myself, making a foolish mistake, like utterly stupid newbie mistake. And I was well into competing. Like, this was like my 4th or 5th season competing, that I got a new batch of clen. And I forgot that these weren't dosed at 20 micrograms. So I literally doubled my dose. And I was taking like 200 micrograms a day from having taken like 80 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting down in my hallway 20 minutes after taking it, thinking like, because I was going to do my AM cardio and feeling like, oh my God, the prep is really getting to me. The prep is like I'm really fatigued. I have to sit down in the hall. I can't even make it to the couch. And it was at that point that I started reading and learned that clen, although it'll raise your heart rate, it'll lower your blood pressure too. So I would check his blood pressure and see if there's anything going on with that, you know.
My brother wanted to get a clen one time, and it was back when we were in college. We were roommates, and so he knew I was all into this stuff, and so I'm like, okay, I gave him. I think I had some liquid at that point. It had to have been liquid because he mismeasured, and I told him, okay, take whatever it would have been to equal 40 mics, because I'm like, that's a typical starting dosage. Well, the kid took 10 times that. He took 400 mics in one dose, and he's like, dude, he's like, well, no, I took what you told me to do, and he's like, I feel weird, and I'm like, weird, like well, show me how much you took, and I'm like,
tachycardia.
Here with you the rest of the night, and if your heart really, really starts beating, we're going to the ER like immediately for nitrates and shit, because like this isn't good. And he never took any PEDs ever again. That was like his one time taking a dose of any PED whatsoever, because he wanted to start working out and getting leaner and stuff. And no.
Safer just to eat hot dogs and drink Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
You guys remember Ready Cat, right?
Oh yeah.
He mislabeled. He was the one that would take they would giant like a tablet of tape and put and they would be taped together. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So he mislabeled about 4 or 5 things, and he mislabeled the clen that had ketotyphin in it, and they were 200-gram tabs. So I took one, and literally I had like a 170, 175 heart rate, and was falling asleep on the way to work with one of my friends. And she's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't stay awake. Like something's fucking wrong. I don't know what's going on. And I got with him and I figured it out. I got with him like, bro, you mislabeled the Anavar for the clen and the clen for the Anavar. And he felt horrible. He sent me a bunch of stuff. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. But now every time I would take something from him, I'm like, I don't know if this is right. So I'm going to take a half dose just to make sure. He felt horrible. But that's back. You got to go Ready Cat. That's what? 15, 18 years.
That was like right when I got started is when I would know that name.
The year 2004, because I was doing the Colorado State that year, and I just started. I mean, that's 20 years ago. I did the Colorado State times that time, but that it stood out because my heart rate was, and I could not stay awake. Like I literally was like leaned up against. She ran into the gas station to get them. She's like, I'll be right back, and I'm just like this, like I was broke.
So running Anadrol for 10 to 14 days and would be better than 4 weeks straight. Would that cause levels to be out of whack and cause mystery estrogen sides and no appetite loss yet? So we are talking about using it, I think, like as a pre-training plateau breaker versus using it traditionally on the last episode. I would say that no. I think that if you were actually trying to use it as an anabolic compound to gain size, you would want to take it regularly. But I don't think that you're going to get like mystery estrogen sides from running it 2 or 3 times a week, you know?
I think he's getting the 10 to 14 days because I specifically said that because that's something I do with people because, to grow. I mean, and Anadrol is one of those crazy funny compounds where like, you lose your appetite. You miss meal 6 for 2 days in a row, but yet the scale keeps climbing and you keep looking bigger and harder. It's like, where's this magic coming from, man? So that's a problem, I think, because people will keep on taking it and feeling like they have zero appetite, not getting the calories in. So that's why I stick to 10 to 14 days typically, unless someone's like, dude, I don't feel any of the appetite side effects. Then we'll run it for like a 4 or 6 weeks. But I think, for me, I always want to make sure you're going to be able to get all your meals in. That's first and foremost. So 10 to 14 days, appetite really catches up to you, take a little break from it. Are you fluctuating your levels? Absolutely. But then I think, especially if you're like tapering the diet appropriately, meaning like, let's say, okay, I want you to be eating all these calories. I want you to get all 6 meals in while we're running the Anadrol. And then we might take like a week where we're pulling back the calories by like 15, 20%, catch their appetite back up. Then we do another 3 weeks without the Anadrol. And then we'll do another run with the Anadrol for 2 weeks after that. So that's not like, set in stone. It's just an example of a patterning I might do with somebody in terms of, diet, weeding the diet and the drugs in.
And it gives your liver a little bit of a break too, to regenerate.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, I'll start this one because I had been thinking about it since I already read it, and then you guys think about something. Question for the next show: what are your favorite training cues for whatever body parts? And I'll start by saying two things on the pull down. I like to get a pause at the top so that I really feel that stretch. Oh, my lats are sore right now, by the way, trying to reach up. I like to get a pause at the top, though, so I'm really kind of getting that stretch. I like to do the same thing on a dumbbell row, too, and kind of like Nick was talking about, deload the momentum versus just bouncing, letting the dumbbell fall and then bouncing it back. If I completely stop it and I stretch, I can almost kind of like reach forward a little bit with it, and then I pull from there and I really feel it in my lat. So I'll say that, number one. And then number two on the pull down is lifting my chest toward the bar as I bring the bar down. Because if you don't lift your chest and you start like hunching over, then you're not using the muscle that you want. But if I lift that chest like I'm trying to lift it up toward the bar, that's a real good one for me.
Is this specific to back training?
No, for whatever body part. What's your favorite training cue for whatever body part?
I guess I got to see someone with bad form and then give the cue to fix it.
What do you use though? Like, what's one that you tell yourself that you really connect to?
This is what I say before I do any hard leg exercise, whether leg press, hack squat, squats on a Smith machine, anything like that, is I make sure that my core and everything is completely tight, and I keep saying tight, tight, tight. Like I want to like not breathe all the air out, but breathe all the like extra space out. So like everything is compressed so that like my spine isn't like elongated at one point, and then as I descend and say a hack squat and then start to press, all of a sudden there's a little gap in my spine and I feel a pop because I felt a pop before. So what I'm saying is I want to make sure my trunk is completely immobile. There's nothing in there that's going to be moving around so that my spine is protected so I don't have another back slippage or something to that effect, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
so my total sense. To myself, tight, tight, tight. I keep saying that to myself before I start the set, and I even say it probably through the first 2 or 3 reps. As I'm going down, like tight, 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 until I'm just in the cadence of the movement and everything is staying tight. If that makes
sense. Now I get what you guys are saying. Okay, because I was struggling. That's funny that you do that because I literally use the same word. Like sometimes I'm sure I say it out loud.
Yeah, same.
I'm focused on glutes because, of course, if your glutes are, firing the way they're supposed to, you get so much more stabilization, of the lower back. And with a history of lower back injuries, that's something. One thing I do too is, and it's funny. This is difficult because there are things that you wouldn't even think that you do. So that's because we've done them for so long. So this is a better question than I thought originally because I didn't really understand it. I'm a left-right guy. I am focused on, no matter if I'm training legs, back, chest, whatever, I am making sure that as I warm up and get into a set that everything is distributed evenly left to right. And not only distributed, but that both left and right are firing equally. And if they're not, then I'm spending more time warming up to make sure that they do. I will not make a progression on any of my warm-up sets until I feel that the left and right side are firing equally.
I gotcha.
I don't know if it's a visual cue, but it's a cue.
It's a cue. It's a cue.
Yeah.
All right.
And there are certain things that we all do. I mean, I will have specific music for specific things. I have warm-up music. I have my stretching that I do, which is, but that's boring, typical stuff. Like I will not train legs without stretching my legs first to open up my hips. I will not do it. I will literally go, I can't do it. I'm not training today.
Oh,
because
so we have
back injuries.
We have a chiropractor who watches the show. And we're going to bring him on one of the future episodes here next time. Yeah, and that's what he wants. That's what he wants to talk about. We're going to talk about basically what are some things you can do to warm up. And we're talking about it, and he had said to me, he was like, I agree with you guys that like a lot of this like 30-minute warm up stuff and pre-activation stuff, it's way too much. But there is more you can do than just like grab an empty bar. So we're gonna talk to him about that next time when he comes on.
I think it's something in the middle. It doesn't have to be a 30-minute, but I spend a good 15 minutes on leg days, like making sure everything's working. And, we all know when you're in your teens and early 20s, you walk in, you get under a squat bar, you go because nothing hurts.
You're not afraid yet. You're like in your working set within 10 minutes on squats, you know?
You get to be your 30s. You're not like, oh, I'm not going to have a good workout. Your fear isn't I'm not going to have a good workout because I'm going to puss out on something. It's I'm not going to have a good workout because something's going to tear or go. And, and that's a real legit fear. Like when I was saying about that whole tight thing in the hack squat, it's also kind of a little prayer that I'm saying, like, please let me get through this set so that I can give 100% and not be in pain or not, mess something up. It is a little prayer, actually, I do say. But I would ask him also if he could have maybe videos queued up of examples so we could show the audience or what did I say?
There's a placebo effect to it too. I don't want to go into a leg workout without stretching because if I ever were to injure myself, I would be mad at myself for not doing it. At least if I injure myself and I stretch, it was arguably out of my control and it was going to happen.
It was meant to happen at that point.
Yeah.
So final question of the day, question for Ron, Dusty, Scott, and Andrew. And Skip, you might be able to give us some cat ideas. The best Halloween costumes for dogs. And Skip, if you have any cat ideas, you can throw those in too.
No, I always put the Halloween tie on all of them.
Halloween tie?
Yeah, they're tie like a dangly tie type.
They have like a tie, like a formal tie that you have for the cats?
Yeah, they have pumpkins and stuff like that, but I don't dress them up in anything per se.
I mean, we do have some stuff coming. I can't remember what. Oh, that's cute.
She doesn't like it, man. She hates it, dude. And
I'm sure.
And she just stands there and looks pitiful. So I've been training her. She gets these. It's called a yummy comb. It cleans her teeth every night. A treat. And so every night she knows it's time for a yummy comb. And if she gets her yummy comb, first I put the suit on her. So she knows when she puts the suit on, she gets her yummy comb because she's gonna wear it for Halloween.
It's the same thing with sweaters. You have to start them young and do it consistently or they will not. Same with leash. Try to put a leash on the cat. Cat literally just falls over. Yep. I'm just saying literally fall. It's hilarious, but they're not used to it. So they don't.
I did just send you a picture, Scott.
You got something you're working on?
No, I mean, it's a picture of, this isn't like a Halloween costume.
But it's amazing. Oh,
right.
Here we go.
That's my man first. Yeah, so we get him dressed up when his girlfriend comes over. He's one of my clients, Shauna.
When his bitch comes over.
No, so my dog, he's the most loving dog in the world. If he likes you, he jumps up and he licks your face and he rolls over on his back and he lays on you and rubs into you. It's the funniest thing. The other thing he does is he rolls on his back and wants you to rub his belly, but then he shoots these little piss rockets like ping ping ping. It's you got to Jedi mind trick it out of it. But no, he's got this girlfriend, one of my clients, and every time she comes over, we dress him up so he looks his best for her. So
that's nice.
That's good shit.
Guys, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Leave us comments, questions for the next show. And, of course, all that stuff that helps to boost the programming. So please comment and like and all that stuff. It really does make a big difference. And you guys are freaking great at that stuff. We have an awesome community. So I appreciate having you guys. And, of course, go to bodyberry.com. You can reach out to Andrew there. You can go to teamskip.com to reach out to Skip. Hit me up, mcnallydiets@gmail.com. And, of course, check out truenutrition.com. Great flavors, great products, tons of protein powders, basically everything you can think of that you need. They've got it. Use our code THINK to let them know that you support what we're doing. And supplementsource.ca for Canadians. We got to your Patreon questions, guys, so now it's up to you over at Patreon to leave us questions for the next episode, and we appreciate you guys over there. For another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Gear, guys, we'll see you soon.